What if everything you've been searching for wasn't somewhere out there waiting to be found, but beneath everything you've been carrying? What if she wasn't lost? What if she was just concealed? Buried under the experiences, under the survival, under the roles and responsibility and the rubble of a life lived for everyone else. And all she ever needed was for you to be willing to dig through the rubble of your trauma and self-limitations to find her. This is episode 3 of Reclaim Her. And today, we excavate. Welcome back to Reclaim Her. I'm Dawn Kristen Ellison, Life Mastery Metaphysician and Awakening Integration Coach. And we are continuing our work through the Reclaim method. Last episode, we reconnected. We found the eye of the storm. We gave ourselves permission, maybe for the first time in a long time, if ever, to breathe, to feel, to remember that she exists. Today we go deeper. I want to take you somewhere with me. Not long ago, I went on a mountain hike with a few of my spiritual sisters. Women who I trust, women who see me, and women who aren't interested in the curated version of my life. Now, I need you to understand something about me in these mountains. I have a fear of heights. And to my surprise, after accepting the invitation to go hiking, I was informed that we would not only be hiking a trail, but hiking a mountain. 8,612 foot elevation. When they told me where we were headed after we arrived, I, of course, was not backing out. I've learned that the things asking us to be brave are rarely asking us to be without fear. They're asking us to move through it. We started at the base. And the mountain doesn't care who you are when you arrive. It doesn't care what you survived, what you built, what you've lost. It just says, start here, keep going, or don't. And something about that honestly felt like an invitation. The climb was not easy. And honey, my legs were through by the end of that day. I want you to know that because I don't want you to picture something graceful. It wasn't graceful. It was effort, real physical sustained effort. We talked on the way up. We got honest. We shared things that don't get said in polished company. We celebrated each other. We named our disappointments, but we kept moving. And as we climbed, something was happening underneath the surface of the conversation. We were clearing, not consciously at first, but every step up that mountain, every hard breath, every moment we chose to keep going instead of turning back, we were excavating, digging through the layers, the noise, the weight, the performance, moving it aside piece by piece with every step toward the top. And when we reached the peak, everything that had been concealing us had already fallen away in the climb. The wind was blowing. The air was so crisp. And what was left standing at the top of the mountain was just us. Not our roles, not our histories, not our carefully managed presentation of ourselves. Just the women underneath all of it. Clear, present, whole. And I want you to understand something. We didn't find anything new at the top of that mountain. We uncovered what was already there. That is excavation. Excavation is not reconstruction. You are not building a new version of yourself from scratch. You're removing what doesn't belong to reveal what always has. Think about how archaeologists work. They don't arrive at a site and create what they're looking for. They arrive knowing something of value is already there, buried underneath the layers of time and circumstance. And they dig carefully, deliberately, removing what's covering it until what was always there can finally be seen. That is exactly what this work is. The rubble on top of you, the experiences, the conditioning, the survival strategies, the roles you outgrew but never shed. That's not you. That's what accumulated on you. And underneath every single layer, no matter how deep, no matter how long it's been buried, those are gems. Pieces of you that are luminous, irreplaceable, and whole. They were never lost. They were concealed. And the moment you unearth them, you don't discover something foreign. You recognize something familiar. There she is. That's her. She's been here the whole time. Most women know on some level that there is more of themselves than what they can actually see. But what most don't realize is that it's always been available to them. And most women stop before they dig. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because excavation requires you to move through the rubble. And some of that rubble is painful and may seem too heavy to lift. Some of what's been buried underneath your layers is not a shining gem waiting to greet you. It's a wound you sealed over because you didn't make time to heal it properly. A dream you abandoned because someone told you it was impractical or impossible. A version of yourself you rejected because she didn't fit the life you were building or wasn't what others approved of. A grief that you never got to fully sit with. A voice that got quieter every time it wasn't heard. And the fear is, what if I dig and what I find makes everything fall apart and crumble? I want to speak directly to that fear. What you find underneath the rubble is not going to break you. It's going to complete you. Because those painful pieces, the wounds, the abandoned dreams, the rejected versions of you, those are gems too. They're a part of the whole woman you're here to reclaim. They've been waiting just as long to be seen, just as long to be acknowledged, just as long to be brought back into the light. You are not excavating to be destroyed. You are excavating to be whole. So how do you excavate? You ask questions. You don't rush past the answers. The questions are your shovel. Each one moves another layer of rubble aside and brings you closer to what's underneath. I want to give you a full spectrum because excavation never starts at the deepest level. It starts at the surface and works its way down. At the surface level, the questions may feel simple, but don't underestimate them. Sometimes the simplest questions have been unanswered the longest. So always begin with, what do I want? What do I enjoy just for me with no utility attached to it? What makes me feel most alive? When was the last time I genuinely felt like myself? What would I do today if no one needed anything from me? Sit with each one. Don't answer fast. The first answer is usually the trained answer of what you think you're supposed to say. But take a breath and wait for the second answer. That's the one telling you something true. The middle layer means going deeper. Asking yourself, what did I love in the beginning before I was taught to be practical? What did I dream about before I was told who to be? What have I been putting off for myself because the timing is just never right. The spoiler is the timing is never going to be right. Just thought I'd throw that in there. What do I do? What do I keep coming back to, or what keeps tugging at me no matter how many times I walk away from it? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail and no one was watching? Deeper questions, your core questions. Well, these questions require stillness, so don't rush these. The surface and the middle questions have prepared you to ask, who am I and who do I want to be beneath every role I've played? What is the realest and truest thing I know about myself? What did I come here to do? Not for accolades, not for approval, but because it's mine to do. Why am I here? What part of me have I been most afraid to let anyone see? What am I ready to stop pretending isn't true? Many of these questions are not meant to be answered in a single sitting. They're meant to be lived with, returned to, allowed to surface slowly, the way things rise when the water settles. But they have to be asked, because a question unanswered stays unanswered. And she has been waiting for someone to ask. She's been waiting for you to ask. Gems are what you're going to find as you excavate, as you sit with these questions and let the answers rise. You are going to unearth things within you. I want to try and prepare you for the full range of what you might find. You'll find gifts that you have forgotten. Somewhere underneath the survival and performance are talents, instincts, and capacities that you stopped using because they didn't fit in the life you were living. A creative voice, a healing gift, an ability to see things others can't, a way of knowing, a way of moving through the world that is irreplaceably yours. These gems, pick them up one by one. You'll find dreams that you buried alive, not dead, buried. The thing you wanted before you were convinced it was unrealistic. The life you imagined before you were handed someone else's version of you. It's still there. Maybe it looks different now than it did then. Maybe it's evolved. But the seed of it is still alive. And that is a gem. Pick it up. You'll find wounds that never finished healing. These are perhaps the most important gems of all and the hardest to recognize as such. A wound sealed over before it could properly heal does not disappear. It just goes underground. And it shapes you from below the surface in ways you can't see or understand until you excavate it. Don't reseal it. Don't walk past it. Pick it up. Hold it with compassion. This is a part of you that survives something. That's not a weakness. This is evidence of resilience, and it belongs in the whole of who you actually are. You'll find the girl that you used to be before the weight, before the world had an opinion about her, before she learned how to make herself smaller. She's still in there. Still dreaming, still knowing, still whole. She is perhaps the most precious gem of all because she remembers who you were before you became who you thought and believed you needed to be. And she has never stopped believing in you and who you were meant to become. Nothing you find is rubble. And here's what I need you to understand about everything you unearth in this process. It all has value, not just the beautiful parts, not just the gifts and the dreams, all of it. The wounds carry your survival story and your resilience. The abandoned dreams carry your original design. The rejected versions of you carry the roads not taken and the lessons you needed along your journey. The girl you used to be carries your truest self before the world edited her. Nothing you find in this excavation is garbage. Nothing. Nothing you unearth is meant to be discarded. It is all, every single piece, part of who you are here to reclaim. The rubble was never you. The gems always were. And the woman who holds all of her pieces, the luminous ones and the broken ones, the dreams and the wounds, the girl she was and the woman she is becoming, that woman is whole. That woman is powerful. That woman is what Reclaim Her is all about. Now here's your work. Choose one question from each layer: surface, middle, deep core. One question per day for 3 days. Write without editing. Don't stop to evaluate what's coming up. Just let it surface. Whatever comes up is data. This is your inner self finally getting a word in. Treat it accordingly. After each journaling session, ask, what did I just unearth within me? Name it. Write it down. Even if it's painful. Even if it surprises you. Even if you're not sure what to do with it yet. You don't have to do anything with a gem the moment you find it. You just have to acknowledge that it's there. It's yours. That it has value. When you unearth something painful, a wound, a regret, a version of yourself you're ashamed of, before you move past it, pause. Place your hand on your chest and say, this is a part of me. It was never lost. It was waiting to be seen. I see it now. I receive it. It belongs to the whole that is me. That's not toxic positivity. This is reclamation. You are reclaiming all of the pieces and all of the parts of you, no matter how pretty or not so pretty they are. Find your mountain. Choose your excavation environment. The mountain for me was literal. The effort of the climb was part of what made the clearing possible. Yours might be a long drive, a solo walk, a day without your phone, a retreat, a journal session, a conversation with the one person who can hold your full truth. Whatever creates enough distance from the everyday noise so that the deep layers can surface. Go there with intention, with your questions, with the willingness to receive whatever comes up. At the top of that mountain, I didn't find anything I didn't already have. I just finally had enough space, enough air, enough stillness, enough distance from the noise to see what had been there all along. And that's what I want for you. Not a new version of yourself, the real version of you. Unburied, uncovered, whole. She was never lost. She was concealed. And everything you're looking for is already there. Underneath the rubble, underneath the rolls, underneath the weight of a life lived without her at the center. Pick up your shovel. Ask the hard questions and the easy ones. The ones that have been sitting unanswered for decades. Dig. Because what's underneath is worth every hard step of the climb. In the next episode of Reclaim Her, we will walk through the sea of the reclaim method. Cultivate. Because once you've excavated the gems, you have to learn how to tend to them. Until then, ask the questions. Name the gems. Receive what you find. She was never lost. She was waiting for you to reclaim her. And she's waited long enough.